here we have the sensor of our crowd control solution. Obviously, sensor for any crowd control solution is the most important piece.
Yes.
If this thing goes wrong, all the counting goes wrong.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So if we are having miscountings or we are counting double, we are counting triple, then your whole solution is actually going to be gone there.
Okay, so our approach to the sensor of crowd control solution is what we call a stereo camera. Now, what is exactly a stereo camera?
Okay, yes. Well, the stereo camera, as you can see it, a stereo camera is actually a little bit more special than a regular camera. It has two lenses that is going to mimic your two eyes.
Okay.
So with this one, it's going to give you the ability to get the perception of depth. So it's going to make it much more accurate than a 2D counting solution.
So I'm unboxing already right now. So you're saying there's two lenses here, right? So
Yes.
this two lens somehow mimics the eyes of our human being.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It will allow the camera to perceive the depth. So
Okay.
it will know how far away the object that he's looking at is actually on.
All right. So the way that a human eyes work, correct me if I'm wrong here, is the two different eyes will see things at different distance, and by the difference in that distance, we can know where the depth is and the distance is. Am I right?
Exactly. That is correct.
Okay,
That
so-
is correct.
And we're mimicking that in a camera.
Yes. Basically, we allow the camera to have this same ability
Okay.
to get the perception of depth and get the distance of the objects.
Well, why is that our approach? Why is a stereo camera better than say IR technology or any other technology on the market?
Well, the stereo camera, with this ability of perceiving the depth of objects, it can actually have an added advantage of tracking the objects. So it will assign an ID to the object, every object that is in the field of view of the camera, and it will keep track of this object movement. So if I go inside and I didn't leave the FOV of the camera and I come back outside, then it shouldn't count as one in or one out. It shouldn't just keep as zero or like as original. So that is exactly what the camera is doing.
One thing that if we were comparing technology to technology, obviously there are different technology from other vendors as well.
Yes.
Now, some things that could happen, say, for example, a motion or frame-based detection technology is the situation where they miscount or they false count a shopping cart, or where two people walks in side by side. That could also false count. Does this happen on a stereo camera?
Yes, that is the huge risk of having a counting solution that is not going to operate based on frame-by-frame comparison or object-to-object comparison. It's going to have the disadvantage of objects coming into the FOV of the camera and being counted as people, which is something that we don't want. So the stereo camera, the advantage that it has is actually it's going to be counting people. It's a people counter camera. We are directly going to filter all the carts, all the objects like boxes, for example, someone carrying boxes, or people pulling the trolleys, or people taking strollers, for example. Everything else is going to be counted as a person.
Okay, so obviously there's the wrapping and a quick installation guide here.
Yes.
What else is in the box here? I think and some toolbox here.
Yes.
All right.
Oh, we have all the screws for the installation, and we have the mounting kit.
And the screws.
Yes.
Okay.
And we also have the installation sticker.
Okay.
So this is all the components of the box of the camera.
All right. So let's talk about the installation part. Now, this obviously goes to the ceiling. How should they mount this?
Yes. So if you see on the installation guide of the camera, you're going to see that the camera needs to be installed vertically like this.
Okay, so what they want
horizontally.
They want it flat.
Exactly. We want it as flat as possible.
Okay.
We don't want to have huge angles, and we don't want to put it upside down or anything like that, or straightforward. Okay. If it is straightforward, it's not going to work at all. Okay. We want it to be exactly like this, horizontally to the ceiling.
All right. Cool. Now, another situation, obviously this has, every camera has its own field of view. Say today we have a very wide door.
Yes.
What can we do?
Well, That will depend greatly on the installation height of the camera.
Okay.
So if you have an installation height of, let's say, just an example is 3.5 meters high, it's going to give you a coverage of a little over 5 meters, which is actually pretty wide.
That's pretty wide, actually.
Yes. But in the case of your store having, for example, a really huge door entrance that is going to be 10 meters or 12 meters or anything like that, we have the feature of stitching multiple of these cameras, up to 6 altogether, to cover this FOV of the camera.
If you stitch, does the counting data aggregate together or are they separated?
Yes, exactly. That is the way the camera it works. Because we have a structure of master-slave with the camera. So one master is going to be just listening to all the slave cameras counting and then centralize the data. So we always just check the master camera.
Okay. So one other criteria that's important, because there are if regulations are pushing out already to the market, then that means there is a big requirement from the market itself.
Yes.
So the system integrators has to install. There are a lot of projects for them to work on.
Exactly.
So easier it is to install, the more project they can go through.
Yes.
So another criteria that we have to evaluate and we have to address in this unboxing is the configuration part. Now, obviously we'll touch that maybe a little bit later when we hook everything up, right?
Exactly. Yes.
So do you want to start unboxing the next thing, and what's that going to be?
This is going to be the first piece of equipment for the solution, and we can see the next one that is going to be the complement of this.
Here we have the second piece, which is the MVR.
Yes.
What role does the MVR play in the crowd control solution?
The MVR basically is going to be playing the role of showing the information to the people. So it's going to be the visible information that people will see the first thing and they are entering into the store, and then they can decide if they want to go inside or not.
So it's a dashboard or sort of a traffic light purpose, right?
Yes, you can say it's basically the interface to the outside of the outside customer.
Okay. Now the MVR or network video recorder is something you record the recordings from the cameras.
Yes, exactly. So as the name is saying, is the main purpose of the MVR is just to record the video. So here we have is an MVR of 8 channels. So it's capable of adding up to 8 channels of cameras.
Okay. How do we build a crowd control solution into MVR?
This is actually an added function that we put into the firmware itself of the MVR. So whenever you upload the firmware, you will have this function available on the MVR.
A very key question that we need to think here is, do you actually need a hard drive? Because that's what most MVR will require, right?
Yes, exactly. That makes sense because the main purpose of this one is to record the video. But actually, for the function of crowd control, you don't need an HDD, you don't need a hard drive to record any videos. The function is going to be available and it's going to be working normally without it.
That's actually something very, very interesting because that would save up a couple of money for the owners, right?
Yes, it can be quite a bit of money also.
Okay, do you want to start unboxing this?
Yes, we can start.
All right. So here's the quick installation guide. And the first thing here is the MVR itself. Now what else do we have here?
Well, we have the MVR plus it has a mouse.
It comes with a mouse.
The power supply.
Okay.
And this is going to be the accessory to install the hard drive.
All right, so we actually don't need this just for crowd control.
Exactly.
All right, let's put that aside. Now let's talk about the NVR itself here. Like you just said, this is a 8-channel NVR, right?
Yes.
Now, our topic today is the crowd control solution. So how does it work? We got a couple of ports on the back here.
Well, the ports on the back, as you can see here, we have the power supply.
Yep.
We have the Ethernet connection.
Okay.
HDMI, which is going to be the one that it goes to the monitor to show up the information into the monitor. We have USB and the reset button. The reset button is going to be used in case you want to reset the device to factory default.
Okay.
And on the other side, you also have an USB port. So these 2 USB is going to be used to connect the keyboard and the mouse of the MVR.
Okay, so everything here will be internet network based.
Yes,
from
exactly.
the Ethernet port at the back rear of the MVR.
So with this port connector, the net port connector, you can directly connect this device into your network.
What about the dashboard itself? Does it come directly from the HDMI port?
Yes, the HDMI actually supports up to 4K display, and it will directly show the information into the monitor.
Now, I don't know if you agree with this, but one of the selling point that might come after long term is if we do turn this into a surveillance system, it could output the live view or the playback for the recordings from the 4K HDMI output.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So the solution itself, as you mentioned, we don't want it to be a one-time solution. So it's, if we are thinking of the future, you can install an HDD on it. You can have up to eight cameras connected into the NVR, recording all the time. You will have the output of the monitor to the HDMI.
Okay, directly up here.
Yes, and also another advantage is that you don't really need to connect the monitor to have access to the interface of the NVR for the surveillance purpose. And however, for the function of the crowd control, you will need to connect the monitor through the HDMI.
Okay, I think that's it for the NVR, and let's unbox the last thing, which is the Ethernet switch, and then let's hook everything up and see how that works together.
Perfect.
Emilio, here we have the least interesting part of the solution. The unmanaged PoE switch. What's the role? Why do we need this?
Well, as we mentioned initially, this is going to be the link between both devices. So it's actually something not very special. If you already have an installation in place, then you can totally replace this one with your own solution.
Yeah, so I think that's something we need to make clear in the very beginning of this video, is that you have other PoE switch lying around, then use those.
Exactly.
But we do have a full solution if they need.
Since we are talking about a solution itself, so this one is going to be a part of the solution. So it's going to be complementing both of the devices.
Okay, so let's see what's inside the box.
Yes.
So opening up the box here, there is a quick installation guide and a, what do you call this?
This is the accessories to actually
cover
to cover the screws on the device.
And there's power cord.
The power cord.
And lastly, there is the unmanaged switch here.
Exactly. So as you can see, this one is
let me just hold it for you.
Yes.
Okay.
This switch has 4 ports, and one good advantage of this switch is actually the extended mode. If you turn it on, the port 1 and 2 can give you up to 200 meters of PoE.
Okay, so the step switch right here will enable the extended mode.
Exactly.
Now, normally a PoE switch will extend to 100 meters.
Yes, normally it will go up to 100 meters only. So we can use this one in case we want to extend the cable up to 100 meters more.
So if the, say, the entrance and where this switch is installed has a further distance, then that could come in handy for our customers.
Exactly, that will be the advantage.
Now, I think the next thing we need to do is to finally connect everything and see how it works together.
Yes, we can put all the solutions together and see how it looks like.
Finally, all right, let's do that.
Let's do it.